Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into a brand new explainer, and we're looking at the data behind what looks to be a genuinely disruptive green tech investment opportunity. We're going to break down a software solution called XpandDesk. Now, this is a technology that completely redefines the traditional hardware purchasing model for the modern workforce. So if you're an investor looking for that sweet spot, the intersection of high financial returns and massive ecological impact, you're absolutely in the right place.
But first, I want to kick things off by having us all consider a pretty crucial question. What is the true environmental and financial cost of outfitting a modern digital workforce? Think about it for a second. For decades, the standard corporate model has just been a strict one-to-one ratio. One user gets one physical desktop computer. And honestly, this standard model is causing an enormous financial burn for corporate IT budgets worldwide. But even more importantly, it leaves behind this ecologically devastating footprint that we simply cannot sustain. Okay, let's dive into this. Digital transformation is fundamentally supposed to make our society better and faster, right? But as the source material points out here, the skyrocketing production of all these individual computers to fuel this boom has a pretty dark side. Humanity is deeply affecting the planet's ecology just by producing and using all of these individual IT products. We're essentially looking at a massive, exponentially growing pollution problem driven by the sheer volume of global hardware manufacturing. To understand how XpandDesk solves such a massive issue, we'll be following a really logical journey today. First, we'll cover the IT ecology problem. Second, the multi-user software solution. Third, global ESG and green impact. Fourth, real-world global traction. And finally, number 5, unbeatable ROI in economics.
Starting right off with Section 1, the IT ecology problem.
To really appreciate the cure, we have to look at exactly how this one-to-one PC model is failing us. Because every single employee out there requires a dedicated physical motherboard, power supply, and processor. We're seeing surging levels of toxic e-waste. Millions of machines are just cycled out and trashed every few years. All this mass production leads directly to increased carbon emissions and demands incredibly heavy, destructive mining for rare earth components. And then, once those millions of machines are plugged into office buildings all over the world, the electricity drain is just absolutely soaring.
Which brings us to Section 2, the multi-user software solution.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the technical thesis behind it all. What if we didn't actually need a brand new physical computer for every single employee? If you look at 40 years of microprocessor trend data, performance and frequency have completely skyrocketed. Modern processors are incredibly powerful and fast. But here's the secret. Most of that power is completely unutilized when just a single user is typing up a document or browsing the web. XpandDesk essentially hacks this abundance of idle processing power, capturing it for maximum efficiency. By unlocking that wasted power, we arrive at the core concept. Just look at this graphic. With this software, one standard all-in-one PC seamlessly becomes 2 completely independent workstations. You literally take one computer, and through this software, 2 different users can log in simultaneously. They each get their own independent desktop session, their own applications, their own workspace. It instantly doubles the productivity of a single machine.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because the incredible simplicity of deployment is absolutely key for enterprise adoption. And it isn't just limited to 2 users. For the setup, step 1 is simply plugging in up to 12 monitors, keyboards, and mice into a single robust PC. And step 2? You just use the XpandDesk software interface to compound those workplaces, hit enable, and reboot. That's it. There are no complex technical barriers, no expensive server racks required. You just plug in the peripherals and let the software seamlessly divide the processor's power.
Moving on to Section 3, global ESG and green impact.
For modern investors, the double bottom line is literally everything. By stripping away the need for redundant hardware, deploying this software creates an immediate ripple effect. It drastically slashes e-waste and the need for component mining. It lowers overall carbon emissions. Office environments actually see a massive reduction in ambient noise and electromagnetic emitting because, well, there are simply fewer bulky towers humming away all day. And for enterprise buyers, this directly and drastically increases their official corporate environmental, social, and governance, or ESG ratings, which is a massive selling point today.
But beyond just counting carbon, let's look at the immediate utility costs. Because fewer active desktops are plugged into the wall, the software slashes the direct electricity pull. But there's a really cool secondary effect here too. Fewer machines generate significantly less ambient heat in an office. That means you are drastically reducing the amount of air conditioning needed to cool the workspace. Between the power savings and the cooling savings, the source data notes that the software license effectively pays for itself in just one single year.
So, the crucial point is summarized in this incredible calculation from the source material. German ecologists literally calculated that if this software was utilized across all computers in Germany, the sheer drop in electricity consumption would be so immense that it could theoretically be possible to shut down all of the country's nuclear power stations. I mean, wow. That is the massive, game-changing scale of the green impact we are talking about here. Let's look at Section 4, Real-World Global Traction.
Of course, big claims require big proof, right? Well, we are seeing incredible use cases globally, like this one right here in Uganda. Because the software allows multiple users to run off a single processor, the overall power draw of the entire room drops to a fraction of a traditional setup. This incredibly low power requirement allowed organizers to build full educational computer labs for students that operate entirely off-grid. They are powered solely by solar panels on the roof. It is literally bridging the digital divide where grid electricity simply doesn't even exist.
And this brilliantly illustrates how that exact same technology scales up for massive corporate operations. In an active deployment in an Indian call center, they took 150 standard PCs and instantly turned them into 300 fully functional, independent workplaces for their staff. Imagine cutting your hardware procurement budget in half overnight while simultaneously doubling your workforce capacity. And it doesn't stop there. The source data highlights that a massive 15,000 licenses were successfully sold to the Russian Post, proving absolute enterprise-grade stability.
Let's contrast the physical footprint here. Instead of traditional hardware clutter, stacks and stacks of dedicated CPU towers taking up legroom, you get a clean, multi-seat setup. By completely slashing that bulky hardware footprint, companies are directly saving on highly valuable enterprise real estate. You can literally fit more productive employees into a smaller, cleaner, and quieter office space.
Finally, Section 5, Unbeatable ROI and Economics. Now let's focus entirely on the hard financial numbers. Breaking down the raw capital expenditure directly from the source's data, outfitting a standard PC workplace costs roughly $1,000 per desk. But by utilizing the XpandDesk multi-user software, the cost per workplace plummets to anywhere between $250 and $600. That means a corporate buyer is looking at up to a massive 4 times difference in upfront capital expenditure just to get an employee a working digital desk.
But listen, if you take away just one number from this entire explainer as an investor, let it be this one, 17. Based on the detailed calculations provided in the source material, factoring in hardware savings and license cost, the immediate return on investment for a standard setup is a staggering 17 to 1. For every single dollar spent on this software license, it saves the enterprise at least $17 in total cost of ownership. The economics are simply undeniable. So, I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. Are you ready to invest in the software that makes redundant hardware completely obsolete? We've seen how it maximizes unutilized processor power, slashes e-waste, completely transforms enterprise budgets, and even powers off-grid schools in emerging markets. It's a rare technology that delivers massive ecological benefits alongside an unbeatable 17 to 1 ROI. Thank you for joining me to unpack this fascinating source material today. Stay curious, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.